Over the past 2 decades, across police jurisdictions, there has been the realization that there are certain functions in police services that are left for professionals from the private sector to deal with, so that the police can focus on proper policing functions. And some of these functions include the issue of crime analysis, because for a police force to plan, it needs accurate data and accurate analysis that will enable it deploy resources to areas of most need. So from there, you have the discipline of crime analysis, where people who go to university to study criminology, criminal justice, come and devote their entire career to making credible police statistics available to the men to do the work. And as we were talking before we went on break, things like budgeting. Nigeria churns out over 100,000 accountants, if I'm not mistaken, or in thousands. We churn out thousands of accountants every year who are in civil population looking for work, but they don't have it. And then yet we have big institutions like the police that should leverage from these skill sets that are out there, or even liaise with the professional bodies, so that if they can't afford a full-time accountants that are properly qualified, they can come either on a part-time basis or on a pro bono basis. These are arrangements, because today the whole idea of a permanent job no longer exists. People do 3 or 4 jobs to make ends meet. You know, you can get a properly chartered or qualified accountant on a 1 day a week or 2 days a week to help out, so that all those people in the budget section of the police can be moved out of the offices and into core policing functions. In fact, in places, if you go to Johannesburg now, you find that traffic law enforcement is no longer done by the police.
But do we have to adjust our laws here?
Yeah, we are in the process of constitutional reform now. We're in the process of reviewing the Police Act. This is an appropriate time. This is year of delivering on governance, for goodness sake, if we have to take the government seriously. This is the time to rethink all of this. But over the years, police officers, especially retired ones, have resisted efforts to bring in the private sector on the issue of discipline, on the issue of... But if other services in the world are going that way, why can't we? And part of the problem is that all these government committees have always been headed by former police officers.
That's another problem. Yeah. Why is it that we're about to change? Why is it that people don't like change? Committees upon committees on a daily basis on different administration, they've all been drafted, all for one purpose, to reform the Nigerian police. How come the more committees we have, the worse it is for the police?
Well, the thing in my view is that, yes, we've had committees, but look at who have led those committees. They've either been retired IGs or retired DIGs, and these are people under whose administration the institution came to a rot. How can somebody change what he was actually the cause of? This is part of the problem. All of them, over 60 to 70% of members of these panels are people with either police background or military background. Whereas today, when we are talking about policies is different from the profession. You have to bring people outside of the institution to look at the institution, because we are recipients of policing services. We know where the problems are, and we know where we want them to put in more effort. So when you go and bring all these people to dominate, you are defeating the whole essence. Okay, look at even the whole issue of oversight. We have a police service commission, which is a civilian oversight body on policing. Who is heading it today is a former police officer. And when you go to talk about all... He will tell you that what the police need is vehicle, we need communication, we need welfare, and we'll get the job done. And we've been addressing all this over the years. Rather than the job being done, the problems are increasing.
But the problem is, even if they say they needed vehicle, they needed communication, do we see those things? Do they have vehicles? Almost all the vehicles you see is either donated by one local government or government, state government, or some communities or the other. People are a little bit worried. They say some of this rot is just not even in the barracks or the police colleges. What about the police station?
We had a program here, we focused on that. That is the nucleus of policing service. I mean, that's where policing is done. It's not at the force headquarters, it's not at the CP's office. But that is the area that is most, if you, outside the training institutions, the police stations are actually the most neglected, you know, in this country, and nobody's paying attention to it. Last year, Kenyan Police Service came up with a program where they are focusing on police stations in Kenya as the basis where police change can actually happen. But here, everything is top heavy, and we stop at the federal level.
So how do you see it playing out eventually if they probe all the budgetary allocations to the police institutions, maybe who knows how long, from 1999? What do you see happening?
Heads will roll.
And corrections?
Yeah, well, again, when it comes to corrections, a lot of things come into play, politics and all that. But if they want to sincerely look at, because the records are there, who got these contracts and who are still getting these contracts, you know, they will get to the bottom of it. But whether they will have the political will to implement those reports, and knowing that some of these people who get these contracts are also major contributors to elections and parties. So that's where politics trumps of any other thing you're talking about.
But from the look of things, one has to be optimistic.
Optimistic, I mean, beginning with the program tomorrow, one can at least hope that the searchlight continues, because if you withdraw, we'll be back to business as usual. So perhaps going forward from tomorrow, as you are getting involved in this, you will know that it's not a sprint, it's actually a marathon. So the question is, are you ready to go the long haul? Because a year down the line, they will also be asking your channel, yes, you did this program last year, what happened and what did you follow up? The kind of question you ask the rest of us.
So anybody who wants to be a marathon champion should ask Gabriel Selassie. You know? How was the training those days?
You know.
All right, then, Innocent Chukwuma, a criminologist. Now the Ford Foundation, by the way.
Yes, soon.
Have you received?
In a week's time, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be speaking in a different tone.